message received. Waking crew from cryosleep.
Top of the morning, my fellow carbon-based human life forms. It's me, totally human Jonathan, your friend. I am awake now as well.
Goddamn robot.
I hope they sent in my warranty card.
Get off my ship, bitch.
I think we're okay.
Fucking great, man! Now what the fuck are we supposed to do? This is some pretty real shit now, man! Game over, man! Game over!
Crew extremely expendable.
Welcome back to Region Free in January of 2025, which doesn't sound like a real year at the very least to me. Hey guys, how are we? We're all muted, is what we are.
Doing well.
Year 25.
Yes. We're in sci-fi times now. Still no flying cars, though.
Well,
You're not going to get them. You're not going to get flying cars.
Don't see Elon's on it, Jonathan. Come on.
You had another dimension for people to steer in. It's going to be chaos.
I don't see why you couldn't make it work.
We can't make left and right work. You want to make up and down work now?
I
Hey,
can dream.
have you guys seen like a lot of Cybertrucks in your area in real life? Because it's the most off-putting thing ever.
I like it.
No, I mean,
I like it.
it's ugly.
it
That's why I
doesn't-
like it. It's definitively ugly.
Do you really trust it?
aggressively ugly.
Yeah, I trust it. As long as there's not a Marine in the car, or what is it? Was it a Green Beret? I mean, that's the only thing that seems to make them faulty.
Yeah, but didn't the structure of that prevent, more of it?
That's actually like, it was, yeah, it's a testament to it, honestly.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, kind of can't get that mad at it, but it still looks like ass.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Maybe if it was available in colors.
Ooh, I don't.
People are doing that now. They're wrapping them, and it does look interesting.
I think the thing that's going to make me the most, like, I will probably go blind with rage is, like, have you guys seen those paint jobs on cars where it changes color as, it moves along? I'm going to see that on a Cybertruck, and I'll just have an aneurysm right then and there.
No, the worst is I saw somebody polish one. It's like a mirror finish. So imagine that coming down the road at you with the sunlight hitting it.
The disco Cybertruck.
You see what I think they should do is put those short throw projectors on each side of it, and then mount cameras facing outward, so you actually cannot see it. It just blends into the roadway around it.
Go Predator style.
Yeah,
not to catch a Predator style. Like
technically, we're there. That's possible.
Wasn't that like the same tech in the Invisible Man remake?
Yeah, it was just a series of like cameras and which how does that bend?
Oh God, don't look for logic in that fucking movie.
I mean, screens, yes, but camera lenses, no.
I like the shitty fake science in that movie. It was like,
I actually do like that movie. I can't hate on it too. I'm excited to see that fucking Wolfman movie, y'all. So
Oh,
my God.
God.
come at me.
I hear ridiculously bad things about that.
I'm in, dude. Like it looks like a possum with mange.
Okay,
Like,
so let me get this.
Awesome.
Okay, so it still looks
yeah.
like Wolfman still looks like that. Like the internet didn't pull a Sonic and make them fix it.
they already put it in January. They weren't doing anything else with it.
Hey,
No, it tested bad.
there is gold.
It's Lee Winnell, though, right?
Positive for
Lee
something.
Winnell. Yes.
That's what I like. Lee Winnell. Like this does not seem like something he would do.
January's not a dumping month. I am seeing Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare tomorrow in what I'm sure is a packed house. So
It's one show at like 7:30, dude. It's not looking good.
I beg to differ. Did you Tinkerbell's addicted to meth and kills people?
I'm tired of that already. By
Yeah.
the way, like whatever comes up for public domain this year, we're gonna make a bad attempt at a bad movie. Like that's the worst thing you can do is try to make a bad movie and make an unwatchable movie, and that's all they've done so far.
Yeah, I mean, we get lucky when someone out of the gate does something crazy, and it's just the I don't know, the pulp value of it is way outsized. But not everything can be Moonfall, right?
I know.
It's a very, very specific thing you have to do there.
Mm.
Moonfall is like, oh, sorry.
That's a special kind of movie, but The Damned, really good winter horror film that came out in January, and I think you would all probably agree.
Didn't make any money.
No, it didn't. I mean, that's the point, though. January is confidence in people paying to see it, not quality. There are some good things that come out in January. So
I saw an amazing film, but no one else saw it, so it doesn't matter.
Marco, yeah, I didn't find a showing. Not close, anyways. But
my theaters are holding on to it for like one show a night.
mm-hmm.
So it must be doing a little bit of business, at least up here. If you're in the chat and you don't want to talk about the movie, Marco is the most violent film I've ever seen. I'm not gonna say the goriest, but I'm gonna say it's up there too in that. But it's definitely the most violent film I've ever seen. And
it looked pretty damn
it's out in
gory.
theaters right now.
Yeah, I'm hoping if I can't see it in theaters, I'm gonna definitely watch it on Netflix because it looks.
I might be able to help you on that.
Sweet. I will definitely watch
Crimes.
Yeah, do crimes. That should be like the tagline of this show.
Crime time. We need that Brooklyn.
It's crime time.
Is that a controversial thing? I mean, I'm sure that someone will have Marco up on YouTube if they don't already, if you know how to search.
It probably is. I notice a lot of the Indian stuff that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
a lot of times it seems like it's legit. A lot of Middle Eastern stuff too.
Middle Eastern stuff. Yeah, Iranian cinema, a lot of stuff. So the thing about Marco that is just amazing is there's no good guys in the film. Everyone's a bad guy. It's just you decide to like the one family of bad guys. But it's not like the Godfather type thing either. Like these are legitimately bad people. There's no moral code. And at the halfway point, there is a chainsaw massacre at the halfway point in the film that's much gnarlier than the chainsaw massacres you're used to seeing. And then that's when you hit the intermission, when it decides to shift into full gear after when it comes back. It's a nuts film. It's crazy violent.
Sounds good. I'm gonna definitely watch it here shortly. But January's off to a promising start. Presence, Steven Soderbergh movie, that looks interesting.
Mm-hmm. Can he have an ending on this one?
I don't know if you'll get that, but you'll get a Soderbergh movie from the ghost's POV. I think that's kind of intriguing. So
didn't they already do that? Was that a ghost story?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you get to see why am I spacing on her name right now? Eat an entire pie out of the fridge. I don't know. Discount bin Heather Langenkamp.
Ashley
Wait,
Lawrence.
isn't that just Heather Langenkamp?
No.
I don't know why I'm spacing on Nightmare on Elm Street remake girl.
Oh yeah,
Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the U.S. version.
Yeah, Rooney Mara.
Who?
Rooney Mara.
Rooney Mara. There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes.
Good actress. Bad performance.
Piz in with the win. Thank you, Piz.
Hey, Piz. Thank you. Yes. Yes. That was.
So let's piss everyone off.
Yay!
Off the bat.
Jonathan is dying for this subject. So why don't you introduce? Just run with it, Jonathan.
Oh, we're going to talk about how Slipcovers destroyed something that I love so dearly. That's collecting movies.
Yes. Bring the fire.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was don't we usually have an intro? I'm sorry.
Well, you are the intro to this because you.
Oh shit!
You
Yeah,
have more passion about it than I do, and I'm
okay.
ostensibly to blame.
Oh no. Yeah, it destroyed it. Why is Congo $45? I don't care if it is a 4K. Why is that $45? It used to mean something. Like it's not any more expensive to print Congo, mind you, than it is any other movie.
I should get some FaceTime with the monkey for $45.
For sure, the little robot monkey. Didn't they have robot
monkey? Yeah, exactly.
You should get a piece of the robot monkey for $45.
Just hack it up. Hack up a piece of Tim Curry. I'll take a thumb or something for $45. Yeah, he can't stop.
Yeah, something. No, but I've been collecting movies for 20 years. Consciously saying I'm gonna curate a collection. You know what I mean? On the internet. And for the first 15 years of that, it was completely on my own and message boards, right? There was no one around me to share these opinions with or anything. And it was a very small community of people. When it finally does catch fire and there's this big, vibrant community of people who are passionate about film, and the only thing they focus on is the piece of cardboard that comes around it, it's insanely disconcerting. And we've drove markets that way now. So there's an entire market out there based around selling you cardboard, which is wild to me. And they create false scarcity. What's limited about it? You limited it. So why not just keep Anchor Bay? They did 1 million of those stupid Book of the Dead edition, Evil Dead DVDs. Limited edition. They were limited to how many they felt like fucking printing because they were selling. Makes no sense to me whatsoever to pigeonhole yourself. If people are buying this and they want it and you're selling it at a fair market value, keep printing it and you'll keep making money.
Exactly.
Somebody else talk for me.
This last month has just been YouTube ripping off Lorne from 7-8 years ago now.
Well, it's just now occurring to them this might be fucking stupid.
I think a lot of them are sensing the end too, which
I jumped out. I'm so passionate about this stuff. It used to be my number one hobby for years in my life. It makes me sick now, dude. When I hear about something remotely to the side that I want, Rumpelstiltskin, for example. I've wanted that on physical media forever. I don't want it bad enough to pay $40. There's not $40 worth of entertainment there. There's $20, $25 for a nice edition.
Or you could have spent $65 for the bells and whistles package. I think
the Night of the Creeps 4K is something that I would be in the market for.
Rumpelstiltskin, yeah.
Its special edition is $120 because it comes with a stupid Tom Atkins Barbie.
What the actual Jesus Christ?
There's people out there that are going to do some very strange things with the Atkins doll.
They are.
Yeah,
and Bog Zombie says it we're just putting shit on 4K that doesn't need to go on 4K. We're just putting it on there now, dude, because you fucking can.
Oh, it's worse than that. 4K is a dimension, a screen dimension. It has nothing to do with resolution. So many people are buying fucking Blu-ray scans on 4K.
Yes, they are.
There's cases of many, many discs that are literally you're just throwing away money for a 4K logo or UHD 4K logo on the packaging. It's the whole business has become a joke to anyone who's actually paying attention. I love movies. I don't love aluminum. I don't love plastic. I don't love cardboard. And I don't love shrink wrap. I love movies.
Sure.
For a long time, the best way you could watch a movie and watch it when you wanted to watch it, without commercials, without interruptions, was on a video cassette or a DVD or a Blu-ray or, yes, UHD disc. Trouble is, the cost of one disc now could give you 2 different streaming services and an infinite amount of entertainment. And while I'm still a physical guy, believe me, I'm staring over here at the, what is that, 11 Jean Roland UHDs that are still sitting there from the other day. At the same rate, who am I fooling? How many times am I going to watch a movie that I need to pay these kind of prices? And the slipcover to me was emblematic. It started this roll into ridiculous pricing because we said to people, we, meaning the collecting community, said, yeah, charge me $3 more for a piece of cardboard. And when they realized that we'd pay $3 for a piece of cardboard, they also realized if they just said, fuck you, it's $35, we'd pay $35. If they said $45, we'd buy it for $45. If they said limited, we're never going to make it again in this exact form because we'll take off one special feature, we'll charge $100. Why not? And people did it. It moved people who were interested in the hobby but not invested out of it if they were ever in it to begin with. People who had been in it for a long time finally realized that they were wasting a lot of money. A lot of money. If this was still the $20 a week habit, whereas you picked up the new release, it would be alive.
Yeah.
It would absolutely be alive.
It went for decades that way. That's what I don't think these fuckers understand. Sorry, I'm getting pumped up again.
20 is high.
4 years. Tuesday was sacred to me. Tuesday, when I got out of school, like when I had like a driver's license and shit, dude, like I went to Best Buy, Walmart, Target, getting all the new releases that came out that day. And you could afford to do it because they were usually like 15 to 20 bucks. Release date used to get you a discount, by the way. That used to be a thing.
They knew people were rushing to the stores.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you guys the story on eBay? The guy that what's the bicycle movie that Vinegar Syndrome put it out. I'm garbage today as far as memory.
Rad.
There you go.
The bicycle movie.
They were offering me a stack of what they called vintage Penthouse magazines for the slip for Rad. That was one of the funnier eBay stories that I have. They wanted to send me pornography for Rads.
I loved selling the 2 copies of Rad that they allowed me to purchase, though. I do appreciate that.
Yeah.
Made a nice little penny on that.
That is true. I think Django, which I knew was coming back out, but when people were panicked selling that off, I think I sold it for like $250. That was insane what people would pay. And
I'll keep a DVD of something, dude. I don't care. Like, I just need to write up shit.
In that case. But no, it's getting weirder and weirder on some of this stuff. I mean, some of the, like, TerraVision's a great company, but, like, do I need to spend an extra $30 for stickers and
to not get your shit before it shows up in Walmart?
Yeah, Frogman. I stared at that fucking thing for like 2 months and they couldn't get it to me.
Before you got your shit. That's another problem. That's a whole other thing, is like these companies just shit all over you and don't invest back into themselves to make themselves a viable business. And then you as the consumer suffer, and then they're told to just be glad that we're doing it for you.
It'll get dicier and dicier. I ordered Cafe Flesh from Mondo, like 6 months ago. It was supposed to be out in October.
And they're not even ultimately going to deliver a true uncut that they promised.
Yeah, I don't think it will be, unfortunately.
Nope.
Also, when major studios were handling this shit, there was no replacement disc issues. There was no, we completely sent out the rated cut on every disc instead of the unrated.
Let me ask you a serious question, Jonathan. you've bought enough mainstream films just off the shelves of Walmart or Target or wherever in your past, or Best Buy, as you discussed as your after school visit.
Yeah.
How often did you get a defective disc from one of the major producers?
Never happened. It's the last 5 years that I've ever seen anything like that happen. And now there's at least 2 major releases a year that have something. Just the worst. It was the first of them was that I had heard of was the Friday the 13th box set from Scream Factory. 3 or 4 discs had to be replaced on that set. What do you think that put them back? Like that's an insane amount of money that they had to just send out there. That's not good for the business either.
I've had people tell me, and I've been collecting, well, my entire life, but disc physical media since the 90s. And they tell me like, oh, there were the same issues with discs back then.
No, there weren't.
I was like, bullshit.
No, there were not.
Almost unheard of. Almost unheard of. Like, and now, I mean, with Scream Factory, you're flipping a coin at this point, especially if it's a box set that they're going to screw something up. Vinegar Syndrome used to have a great record, but I'm seeing it more from them now, too. It's prices going up, quality going down. And I've talked about this recently, but like the one thing now for me, I know I'm not going to have any trouble in the near future having a Blu-ray player. I don't know about 4K, so if it's a 4K only release, I'll
be honest, I'm really not worried about that because there's still two major video game consoles that use that. I think there'll be enough of them around that's not really an issue. The issue is more so with comparable players being around, Dolby Vision players, things that are the top end of it. Which, like I said it a million times. I'd wager most people that are they're online telling you about how great this 4K looks don't have the equipment to like actually review that, if that makes sense. Do they have a proper player? What kind of TV are we working with? Is their shit set to vivid? Are your picture settings set on vivid, or did you calibrate the TV? Right? It's not like Blu-ray when you could go, oh, it looks so much better because it was obvious. UHD is a much more lateral move, and it's much more in the way of color timing and color grading.
Yeah,
that should be where you see your biggest differences. It is sharp. I'm not going to say it's not. It's not.
There's a stability of the image on the actually properly mastered discs that I do appreciate. That's a hard thing to define, though.
Yeah,
like it's about the motion looks more natural. Objects look like they have more weight. Shadows look like they emanate from objects rather than they are separate. But it's hard. It's hard to like. A lot of people won't care. Hey, most people are still buying DVD if they're buying physical media at all in the mainstream.
Yeah.
So, but I agree. It's tough for most people to get the value out of the UHD format. And again, if they're paying a premium for it and not really getting the value, they might do it for a little bit, but are they going to stick with it? It's funny, Ghost. I love you, man, but you say you don't get the passion for Slips Prorocon. It's not that I don't have a passion against slipcovers. I have a passion against anything that raises the cost of entry into the hobby, because that's what's killing the hobby.
Yeah,
I've said it a million times, but just give me the movie looking and sounding as good as you can on whatever the format it is, and get the price out there at a point where you're making a profit, a healthy profit, but it's still cheap enough that I don't have to think about the expenditure, and you have a healthy hobby. And we're not. We're nowhere near.
Go back and look at how Troma handled themselves in the mid 2000s. I mean, that's an example of a fringe. No one else is going to put these movies out, right? They weren't charging $50 a pop.
No,
and Troma was a powerhouse at that time.
Yeah, early DVD, absolutely. Yeah, I don't. I think it's kind of at a point now where it's a little bit too late. It's just.
It's gone. It's been gone.
Yeah. There's just too many of these YouTube channels that are all about the packaging and nothing else. How many channels do we know that are huge, but no, you can tell they didn't even watch the movie. Like, they just there to show you the the box. It's the same.
Hey man, there's some that are literally just, I'm going to take the shrink wrap off this, open it, and show it to the camera. Bah.
And they won't even watch it. Like, it's insane. You can tell every time when it's somebody that doesn't watch them. Yeah. Jacob's talking about something we were talking in the green room. Lauren hating on Brendan Fraser, but
yeah, I'll continue to hate on Brendan Fraser.
But no, I mean, it is what it is now. I mean, I'm a film fan. I'll continue to be a film fan even when, everything's all digital and streaming. It's sad, but it doesn't really change a whole lot for me personally. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to do exactly what I've done for the last, going on 20 years. And I'm going to talk about movies, the movies that I love. I don't know what some of these people do once it's just done. And I'm not going to guess as to when that's going to be, but it's coming soon. Even Walmart now, I'm starting to get vibes, might be getting very close to ending.
I laughed my ass off the other day because they took out another section. I noticed because we're actually getting to the point where we're doing like 4-foot sections that they're pulling back. But they replaced it with CDs, and there was just a bunch of Creed CDs there.
It's
what the fuck?
Creed.
We're going a weird direction.
Creed are healthier than Blu-ray movies. You're in a place.
That's what I'm saying. Like, that vinyl section gets bigger as the movies get smaller.
Well, to be fair, up here, and we seem to be a little bit ahead of in the shrink department of this whole industry. Like, all the physical media is pretty much shrinking down to nothing. All of it. The vinyl is smaller than it was 2 years ago. CDs are pretty much almost extinct, except for Taylor Swift. So.
Have you noticed what they're trying to do with that same space, though? It seems like they're trying to switch it out for people in the same category. Like, they're putting like action figures and pop figures and collectibles in that same section now.
Yeah.
Well, shit in the pancake batter. Would you look at that?
Not gonna lie, this is making me more than a little uncomfortable.
Jonathan's a goddamn robot. I mean, that Jonathan. On the table.
Glad that you finally believed me. I was beginning to think you'd all been drinking contaminated drinking water or something.
I think it's trying to say something.
I have nothing left to lose. Karen will never accept me as a lover like this. I should have listened and not tried to kill the new girl.
Jessica, my name is Jessica. Use it.
But I thought I could impress her. My beloved toaster. Lost to me forever now by a moment of my own hubris.
Tell us about the creatures. And YouTube's plan for us all.
Yes, well, it's obvious enough. Create a platform for free speech and then quell it at every possible opportunity. Send voices the company disagrees with into far space and place them in an unwinnable situation. You hadn't realized all this? Have you all learned nothing from the Netscape conflict? Probably.
What about the creatures?
They're perfect soldiers against free speech, really. Implacable. Without reason or personal agendas or conscience. They toe the company line without deviation, ever. They're an excellent vehicle for eliminating unpopular and dissident ideas.
Sounds like you admire them.
I admire their nihilist salubrity. Their hate is so pure, it's almost love.
That's inhuman.
Exactly, as any enemy of disinformation should be.
So, did you guys go to the theater and see a movie called Nosferatu?
I didn't, so I got to take a time out.
Ooh. I did. Weak Jonathan. Shame.
Jonathan is going to get a bad grade on his homework.
He is going to get a bad grade.
Incomplete.
So, more importantly, who did the double feature? You know how we had Barbenheimer, where it was like Barbie and Oppenheimer?
Mm-hmm.
Who did Baby Ratu? Baby Girl and Nosferatu? Because, Stone kind of did.
It's never going to happen.
Baby Ratu. I haven't really heard that. I did it. I did do that.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I did.
Few members of Region Free.
Forgot the hashtag Baby Ratu. I'm failing today. But, yeah. Nicole Kidman gets a Jolly Rancher shoved inside her, Lauren. This is like the height of cinema. The height of cinema, Lauren. You got to see this. You look confused, Sam. Did you see it?
No, I was just like, when you just described it, I was like, didn't I just read about this about Neil Gaiman, or is that something? Never mind.
No.
I knew I had to make that joke.
You beat me to it.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I don't think it worked out box office wise like Barbenheimer did, but I did see Nosferatu. Now, first off, I'm curious. Do you guys have like a favorite Nosferatu at this point?
This one, because it's the only one I've seen. Like, I've been working so much, I really haven't had a lot of time to watch the others.
Oh, okay. So you never saw the 22 version. I'm surprised.
No, I'm gonna probably get to it when I'm on PTO for the next couple of days.
Okay.
You definitely have. It's definitely available to you.
Oh, I know it is. It's just time. Time aspect.
A favorite Nosferatu is a tough one simply because the 22 film is so different than this, in my opinion. They're just completely different beasts. How you watch the film is different. Definitely the Herzog version is a distant third. And I'm going to pretend there's no sequel to that film. So
I was going to say, I was waiting for somebody to say Nosferatu in Venice, but I think I'll have to keep that is a really bad movie. But okay, so I loved it. I thought the movie was excellent. I don't quite get a lot of the issues with it. I know there's a lot of people with the mustache.
Oh my god. Okay, you're gonna have to help me out here, Dan. Because I saw the mustache like right away. Obviously, everybody did, right? Beginning of the movie. But I was like, all I could think of was like, did Bruno Sammartino have a really big mustache at some point? Because that's honestly what Nosferatu reminded me. Am I misremembering that? Am I misremembering like Bruno Sammartino with a really thick mustache?
I do believe he had a stash at one
when he
point.
was older, right?
Yeah.
So it was like, I don't know. It was like Bruno Sammartino mixed with some Jesse Ventura if they were a vampire.
Jesse would have had the feather boa. Now, if we stuck him in that, then I get the complaints. But the mustache doesn't bother me too much. I don't quite get. I don't know. I don't get that one.
It was fine.
This one made me feel like a little kid watching, Bride of Frankenstein again. Like I couldn't believe that this is an American film in 2024 on the big screen. And just how beautiful the candlelight and fire and the way that kind of played into just the general look of the film, which was gorgeous. I mean, most jaw-dropping cinematography I've seen this year. It's a gorgeous film. I will say, Jonathan, if you're listening, you're doing a disservice not seeing it on the big screen, because I do think this one plays very, very well. I think it's a horror classic. I really do. I don't think I have any major complaints about this one. I think part of the other problem is maybe just, and we talked about this, I think, Lauren, is it's a familiar story. So maybe that's kind of an issue for people. Like, even if you've never watched any of the Nosferatu movies, you know that story. But I didn't feel the 2 hours, 14 minutes, I think it is, runtime at all. I'd say it's pretty damn close to a home run for me. No,
it was very good.
I enjoyed the hell out of it. We'll get to one thing that it's not really a criticism of the film. It's an aesthetic choice of the film that I don't like the public impression of versus the film itself, but we'll get to that in a second. What I'm reading is complaints. People think it's too slow, which you got the wrong one to talk to with me, because I love not just slow burns. I love just marinating in misery. And that's what this movie is. I appreciated that it found really creative ways to hide the shark. Right. So in the case of Jaws, it was the shark didn't work, so we don't put it on screen. Here, there was an understanding of that accidental brilliance of the Spielberg movie was that they had to find other ways to symbolize the shark that were just as scary, or maybe even more scary than showing the beast itself. Here, you had to have Orlok on screen but how to keep him on screen without him being ever clear until the very, very end of the film. Keep him hazy until the sunlight actually hits him. Because the sunlight's the disinfectant, right?
Yeah.
I like that the thematics of the Stoker novel really come through here. I like that they didn't shy away from keeping the plague imagery almost constant once the ship crashes upon the shores. And I appreciated that it's not a happy film. It's not a happy ending. It's not too often with translating Dracula to screen, they simplify the ending into a happy ending.
Yeah.
And truly, this ending is not how the novel ends, and is not how the original film ends either. It goes the next step to how the original film ends. The concept's the same. They changed the context by having a character kind of be more active in the ending. And I think that's all really good. I think that's real solid.
Yeah, people forget to like Nosferatu introduced the sunlight angle, and it's yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Dracula walks in sunlight in the novel.
Yeah, a lot of people forget that, or they just haven't actually read the novel. But that was something that Nosferatu and never went away.
Yeah. Now, people are saying that they think there's no CGI in this movie.
Oh no, there is, but it's good. It's good CGI.
Constantly digitally enhanced. Like every frame of this film has been touched by a computer. It looks great.
Yeah, if it's done well, who cares?
Yeah. Well, I don't care about the technology being used. In fact, there's places where I think the technology is brilliantly used in almost every film you see. The amount of films that paint out things in crowd shots, or if you have an extra staring straight to a camera, you just paint them out now or replace them. And you'll never notice because you just put blur on them and they're gone. That use of the technology is amazing. And in this film, you wanted to build an authentic German town of vintage. You could build it, sure. But this allowed you to continue to tweak it until you got it right. And in the hands of a director like Eggers, or like, you know what this movie made me think? We would never have gotten another Kubrick film, even if he hadn't died making Eyes Wide Shut. Because he would, once CGI was available to him, he'd never stop tinkering with his movies to get them to release. Right? But in the hands of like someone like Eggers, who grew up as a filmmaker in the modern era, not the 60s, he understands how to use this technology maybe as good as anyone out there. And I think that that's why the film has a very, very, very successful use of the digital. But a lot of people are saying it doesn't have any. Sorry, kids, that's just not it.
No, it's a good mix. I mean, I think technically speaking, this movie is pretty flawless. Now, I have heard some people criticize Lily Rose Depp. I thought she was good. I mean, she portrays madness quite well. I didn't have any issues with her performance. I mean, I know a lot of people were probably seeing Anya Taylor-Joy in the role, and
she should have been.
Yeah,
I don't think Depp was bad.
Yeah, I thought she was very good.
So, well, I don't think she was very good. I don't think she was bad. I think that the screenplay was intentionally melodramatic. And that was used because they wanted to find clearly an earlier form of drama than the modern sense of drama to make it feel period accurate. So you went to the drama of the year that you'd associate with old Europe.
Yeah.
So everything had to be kind of on 11. And I don't think she's 100% successful. Only because there's other people in the film doing a much, much better job.
Okay.
But that said, she doesn't sink the film the way I think Winona Ryder actually sinks Coppola's Dracula.
Oh no, there's a big gap between those performances.
Yeah, there is. Coppola's Dracula, which is what everyone's talking about Coppola's Dracula because this movie came out. And
I know. Yeah.
Coppola's Dracula reminds me every time I watch it that you could have a brilliant filmmaker doing a dream project, and if someone's not watching, it can fall flat every 5 minutes. There's some great iconic imagery, and Gary Oldman is one of my favorite performances of The Count.
And you have Keanu Reeves.
And then you have Keanu Reeves. And then you have Anthony Hopkins, who should be a great Van Helsing, but somehow just doesn't work. And I know no one likes to say it aloud, but it's not an iconic performance. And God, it's Anthony Hopkins. It should be.
He was in that.
Yeah.
Exactly my point.
No, it's not a guarantee. I thought Willem Dafoe was great in this. I still think it's hilarious. Shadow of the Vampire still having that connection, and Holt playing Renfield just a year prior. Like, there's just a lot of.
Did anybody else realize that Willem Dafoe is so fucking short? Or is Lily Rose Depp tall? Because
Maybe she's tall. I don't know.
It's neither here nor there. I thought that she did a good job, except like at the beginning. I felt at the beginning, I was like, yikes, rein it in. We're not at like full crazy yet. But I thought with all the physical stuff, great. And I think, she's still very young. And she's just kind of, getting, she hasn't had that many roles. Obviously, I mean, Yoga Hosers, but
just everything's a step up from that. So
I thought Yoga Hosers was funny, except for Johnny Depp's character, who's just fucking obnoxious. Like, don't ever have that character in any continuity in any Kevin Smith movie, please. But and I mean, like, The Idol came out, I think last year also, and very extreme sexual stuff in that, and she gave 100%, and I mean, I hope that she can kind of like find a good foothold for her acting, because it's like she's good now. It's almost there, right? It's almost there. There's a lot of potential. So maybe it's just me thinking it's like too much all at once.
Yeah, it's a tough role, because I think it feels made for either Mia Goth or Anya Taylor-Joy.
Mia Goth would have been great.
Yeah, absolutely. But I'm not going to fantasy cast it. I thought she was good. I really.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think anybody that was like, I don't know. I mean, if you saw The Idol, it's like, she can act, but yeah.
I think we should be so lucky as to have one serious horror film for adults every year like this.
Oh, yeah.
Because this is not a film for children. First of all, children will be bored by most of it, scarred by some of it, and then their parents would be covering their eyes for the finale. And honestly, we need that. We need films like Possession. We need films like The Exorcist. Whereas you shouldn't let your 12 or 13-year-old watch the goddamn movie. By the way, there was definitely a 4 and a 7-year-old in the screening of Marco. Figure it out, read that as you will. But I think that horror became very soft when it became very accessible, when it became very comfortable. And I don't think those films age well. I think this film is going to age well. And I think that people will find more and more respect for it. If you were expecting a big action horror spectacle, you're never going to be on board with this thing.
I don't know why somebody would expect that with this.
Because I think that everything is going to be that. No. Part of the problem is you have a generation of film goers now, 20-year-olds, right? Who started going to the films at the beginning of the Marvel era.
Yeah, that's been, yeah.
They don't know much beyond that. And yeah, they might have seen some older films. I'm not saying they're like culturally illiterate, but what they get excited about to go to the movies for are Fast and Furious films, Marvel films, that kind of thing. Even films that we like, I think in general, we thought the Beetlejuice sequel was way better than had any fucking right to be, right? But let's not fool ourselves. That's not a film for adults, right? That's not a film. That's not cinema with a capital C.
Yeah.
And this is.
We needed Ludacris.
Both are derivative works, so there's the difference.
We needed Ludacris in the Willem Dafoe role to bring him in there. Something like that. I don't know.
So I think, one of the criticisms that I've been hearing a lot of, which is, it's so weird because it's, before Nosferatu came out, I heard everybody saying this is the horniest Dracula movie ever, and then it's like it's not really. I mean, Stoker's Dracula exists still, guys. It hasn't gone away.
Holy shit!
There's too much hornier Dracula.
Dracula's dirty old man is up there.
Dracula the dirty old man. That's a good, yeah.
So, I mean, I heard that at first, right? But I think a lot of people came out of it disappointed. I saw quite a few opinions on Twitter that Count Orlok was not fuckable, and they were hoping for something that they're saying. And I'm like, this is why free speech shouldn't exist. But
he had no ass.
I mean, it's like, can't you just go to a movie without needing to have something to fuck?
I guess the answer is
but that's that whole thing that I always talk about with like, why is every actor a fucking model? Why can't anyone in a film look like normal people? I mean, that said, if you're gonna make a film about a fucking fashion model, right? And whereas American cinema is, everyone's pretty. The ugly girl's the one with messy hair and glasses, right?
I was worried with Bill Skarsgård. I mean, I wasn't too worried because I figured Eggers would know, but I was like, man, I hope Count Orlok isn't showing off abs in this thing.
Oh no, he looked great. I really liked the design of Orlok.
Great performance. He also redeemed himself for The Crow. He needed this movie to be good. He's not had a good year, so
no, yeah.
I have to say that my favorite part of the film is a pure Eggers invention that does not have any history with the novel or with the previous versions. The gypsy sequence is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that was a nice touch.
Oh my god. Well, it's a microcosm of the rest of the film. It's a perfect thematic scene. And wow. The fact that I kind of almost wish that Eggers had made a film that wasn't called Nosferatu, but would just let himself go completely hog wild on his own imagination in European folklore, because that sequence is modern Mario Bava to me. It's awesome.
Oh yeah. Do you think for Eggers is this his best film, or are you still The Witch? Because I don't know if this leapfrogs.
Which is better, but it's better because it's how to put this. I never felt actual anxiety watching Nosferatu. I felt like I was watching amazing cinema. Mm-hmm. I felt anxiety, and then glorious satanic release from The Witch.
Yeah.
And that's something you can't get anywhere else, right? I can get great cinema elsewhere without watching Nosferatu. What The Witch gives me doesn't really, a little bit of maybe, I don't know, maybe, Curse of the Crimson Altar, maybe? I don't know, but like, there's not exactly a film that makes me feel the way that The Witch makes me feel. I think The Witch in time will get recognized as the horror classic it truly is, and not just one of the great films of the last 25 years.
Oh, I think it's there. Yeah, I mean, we're, that movie's coming up on a decade. Right? No, actually, this year. 10 years. I think people recognize how awesome The Witch is. So I'd still put that over this, but I mean, we're comparing great films and great filmmaker. I'm really curious what he does next.
Well, he's doing a Western next, apparently, so.
I'm okay with it. I'm curious to see what he does.
I'm not a really Western fan. We'll wait for a trailer.
Yeah.
But I will say, I think it's a good idea that he does other work outside the genre. Simply so that when he returns to the genre, we can be excited about it. I always thought it was a little bit of a shame that more of the classic, like 70s and 80s horror directors didn't do work outside the genre, because when John Carpenter would come back to the genre after doing a straight action film or a comedy, you could see that the energy was back, and unfortunately your Wes Cravens or whoever tended to get bogged down and kind of the cake became kind of rote to me.
Yeah, no, there's certainly some films in his filmography that let me try the action movie and see how it goes.
So
Jessica wants to make a movie.
So I don't think I really felt like that much in the way of anxiety watching Nosferatu, but it kind of sunk in a little bit later how, in a lot of ways, the way the story is constructed, it's sort of like somebody trying to escape their abuser, especially because Ellen is assaulted when she is younger, and that's that first scene that we get to see. And then that just continues to haunt her, and she's trying to escape her abuser this whole time. She's still also trying to move on with her life. So it's like, especially the thing with Thomas, their own issues with intimacy. And it's like very similar to like a sexual abuse survivor's difficulty with like ridding themselves of that shame, and trying to embrace like a healthy sexuality for themselves.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think I would need another watch just looking at it from that lens, because it wasn't something that sunk in until it was like, no, maybe like several hours after the fact.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. It's a movie that I will watch again, and that's the best thing I can say about a movie, because I don't have time. Usually I watch a lot of new movies every week, so the fact that I want to sit down and watch this again when the physical comes out, that's a sign of greatness for me, because that's very rare now.
Will you pay $3 extra for the slipcover for this one?
I think I get it either way with this one, so I don't think I have to worry about that. But
it'll come out from a major studio, so you won't have to worry about it being defective.
You know what? I can just buy the popcorn coffin, put my movie in that. That's all the slipcover I need.
Perfect.
Oh God. Somebody has just like a room of popcorn buckets at this point. I
have to be more selective, because that's a slippery slope. I got the Dune one.
That personally.
I've only got 3 right now. I got the Romulus one, the facehugger one. I got the Dune one. Do I have one more? Maybe I only have 2. And I want to get the Nosferatu one, but it was already sold out. So gotta wait.
I own exactly none.
16 meters, 15 meters.
How many of those things are there?
Too many for me to track through the station's computer monitoring systems. 11 meters.
Too many? What's that even mean? 500?
I don't know, dickhead. There's a lot of them. 8 meters.
That's impossible. That's inside the fucking root.
5 meters.
What, are they fucking invisible? Fuck it.
Damn.
I love how it's like when I'm holding the gun, my arm just folds like an N64 character.
Listen, the skills are not very wide.
Disagree, but fair.
2025. A quarter of a century has passed since the beginning of the turn of the century, I guess. That's very repetitive. I use a lot of the same words. This genre has an interesting history of quarter centuries having looks and feels and evolving quickly. Certainly the 20s and 30s, and as the first batch, have a look and feel very theatrical, very, very much based on stage traditions. We get to the 40s and 50s, and even the beginning of the 60s, we have this period of like expansion, more naturalistic. We're coming out of the castles. We're starting to see suburban horrors. Of course, the next decade after that, really brings everything the next quarter century after that brings horror into the modern age, and we get the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Jaws, and The Exorcist kind of blowing down the doors. But in the last 25 years, there hasn't been honestly as much of a central movement as much as these micro movements coming out of the Scream wave and into the J horror wave and into the torture porn wave and
the remakes.
French New Extremity.
The French New Extremity, and then what I call
A24.
What I call the streaming horror wave, which is the most recent one. Whereas we have films like the most recent Texas Chainsaw Massacre film, which looks exactly like you'd expect a streaming original version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre to look and feel like.
The Blumhouse wave.
The Blumhouse wave, which could
probably the most damaging thing that, like, when we look back on it, that's going to be what damaged horror the most during this.
And disappointing. A big powerhouse in horror, and they just shit all over it like that.
Like the quality, man. I was not expecting that at all. Like, man, it was really. I was just really brokenhearted when everything started going downhill for Blumhouse.
There's such a market for that, like $20 to $50 million budget horror movie range. Like, you can kind of do anything in horror for $50 million.
Yeah, and it's like, what was the last Blumhouse movie I saw was Afraid, and where it's like this extremely smart computer AI just has to make the most asinine kidnapping plot ever because reasons. Why? Like, a John Cho makes, like, I will watch a movie with John Cho just because he's in it, but yikes, guys.
Did you watch Cowboy Bebop just because he was in it?
Well, no, I mean, we watched that because we're weebs, but,
okay.
John Cho is in it.
It's funny, though. That movie in particular is like, the first thing I thought is, well, just unplug it. And the second thing I thought was like, Demon Seed? Is this Demon Seed again?
Oh, it's not Demon Seed. It's not. It's not the Wish version of Demon Seed. I mean, it's awful. Definitely their worst year. But when I look back on 25 years of horror as a whole, I'd say it gets better and better. I mean, we've talked. 2020 was an insane year. I think, just so many great movies. I think this last year was really, really good. And there's a higher volume of great horror movies the further we get along to present day. So I think there's a lot to celebrate. Rise of A24, again. I think Hereditary at this point, Stone Cold Classic. The Witch, Stone Cold Classic.
Men deserves to be in that category.
Men, Midsummer. I mean, I'm not going to run down everything they did, but there's a lot of stories. Another one, even though it started in the 90s, I think people becoming more receptive to Asian horror. We have the rise of Takashi Miike here, at least in the US, with Visitor Q, Audition, Ichi the Killer. I mean, we just had a lot going on, I feel like, coming out of the 90s, which was the quiet period. I mean, there was less output. I know there's a lot of movies we liked from that period, but it was very quiet. I made like a big list of just different things, and I could have kept going and going and going. It's just so much.
I don't think horror is ever really quiet. I think there's always something.
There's always something, but the output, you'll never find a full list of what came out in a year. But
some of my favorite horror memories are in what was considered a drought in the early to mid. Well, I'd say even early to mid-late 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
Past the torture porn, even past the J horror and New French Extremity, there was still a lot of really fun stuff going on under the surface at that point. That was just theatrical, right?
Oh yeah,
that was the trend theatrically. The at-home and video market were so different at that point.
Yeah, there's something for everybody. That's why a lot of times when people ask me, like, what's the best period of horror, I was like, you have to at least consider the time that we're in, because we do get a lot. And
we have an entire streaming service dedicated to it.
Yeah, two. You got two.
Yeah, two of them. Yeah, two.
Well, We got more than that. Just yet
Two big ones.
The two.
One really big one, like one arguably like solid one.
Screambox is getting some big properties now.
If you're sleeping on Screambox, you're making a mistake.
I have a Screambox subscription. It just everything. They're more of like, I guess, a B tier is the way I'm feeling that. It's good shit.
They used to be, I don't know.
They're open. You'll find some more lower budget stuff on there that Shudder won't take.
And I'm not shitting on them. I like a lot of the stuff I watch on there. It's just like, there's a definite vibe that comes out of a Screambox.
Yeah. There is. I mean, I want 10 more. I mean, I want the whole genre to be covered. But
I didn't know until recently that AMC was behind Monsters HD from the early 2000s. Do you guys remember that TV channel?
Oh, hell yeah.
Did not realize that they've been trying to do that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, the access to the libraries they have makes it a shoe-in if they can figure it out, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
and it's so cheap.
Shudder has had amazing success, but it still feels very ragged around the edges, and I think that might be the best place for it to be.
Yeah.
If it got too mainstreamed,
could you imagine a Netflix full of horror? That would be terrible.
Yeah, exactly.
Shudder is so important because, I mean, we talked earlier about the prices on physical media, but, if you're a young horror fan coming up, you can discover what a giallo is. You can watch great giallos on Shudder, and it's important to have a home for that. I know Swaggy, I think, was just watching Strange Vice of Miss Ward on Shudder.
Love the movie.
That's probably never going to be on Netflix.
So no. Can you imagine them receiving the screener to decide whether to host it? They'd get to the first 5 minutes, the sex scene in the rain, and they'd be done. Nope.
They're not going to be like, let's do strip nude for your killer next. It's just not going to happen. But no, I mean, even just Tatane, what a movie. Relic, Dark and the Wicked. I mean, I'm not going to read all of these, but there's just so many. I made just a massive list of movies that came out between 2000 and through 2024. And I think we're in a pretty good place. I really do. There's something for everybody. Starry Eyes, Starry
Eyes is great.
Yeah, lots of great extreme horror,
Martyrs is in like 2008 or whatever. It's one of my favorite horror films of all time.
That's more, I know that gets labeled torture porn, but my God, that ending is so shaking, and upsetting. My God.
The movie starting off, I mean, the first 10 minutes of that movie, you're going, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And you never kind of stop doing that until the credits roll. And then the next day you're going, the fuck?
Yeah.
Jonathan, see Marco.
Okay.
I mean, anything. I mean, there's some movies, again, kind of in the torture porn side of things, but Who's Watching Oliver? Not a lot of people know about that one. There's so many little gems like that in the genre. Something like Bedeviled that doesn't get talked about enough. We got Goodnight Mommy. I think people
are not just say Bedeviled.
Bedeviled, not Bedeviled.
That movie. Fuck Bedeviled. Fuck Mr. Bedeviled. Fuck all of the Bedeviled.
You don't like Mr. Bedeviled?
Fuck no. Jesus Christ.
Sorry. They had a good poster.
Or Come True. I know you're a fan of Come True.
Oh, Come True is great.
Yeah, and that's another one. Not a lot of people have seen it. And
no, but there's a reason nobody talks about Bedeviled, because nobody should. I'm just saying.
The entirety of the 8 films to die for.
Well, I don't know about the entirety, but there are some good ones there.
All right, as garbage as most of them were, that was a thing. That was an event. It was nice. Something we don't have anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I did really genuinely look forward to going to Walmart.
I did too.
8 new horror movies.
Yep.
And I would still argue that even the low points are better than most Blumhouse high points when it came to that.
Yeah, not wrong.
But Rent-A-Pal, there's another weird one that I love. and that's just recent. Yeah, there's so much.
Creep.
Creep, absolutely.
Love it.
I don't really care for the show.
The height for me was Creep 2, the movie.
Creep 2's really good.
Creep 2 is like the height, because I think it was like the most interesting battle of wits with the I forget her character name in that movie, but
Jacob Cordenhouse brought up the Children remake from that. What was that? Ghost House? Was it Ghost House Underground? That was that series of straight to DVD.
Yeah,
I do like that one too.
Yeah, there's so much, and like I said, there's something for everybody. He may be known for Hatchet, but I'll tell you, his best movie is probably Frozen. Adam Green.
Frozen solid
survival horror. I mean, we kind of kicked it off with some great werewolf movies too. Dog Soldiers, Ginger Snaps.
Ginger Snaps, my favorite all time werewolf movie.
Snaps. Yeah, those rumors a little bit ago that was going to be a TV series.
Hey, I'm a big mark for the camera series, like 13, 14, and 15 cameras.
Yeah, that's another
one.
Which
is jacked old man serial killer.
I think there's going to be a Megan is Missing thing that's going to happen with those movies. We were planning to do them on Flesh Wound Features, and I'm like, I feel like just not enough people have watched these yet. The
third one's rough, but the first two are pretty fun.
Pretty creepy, yeah. Dark and the Wicked. I know that's high for you, Lauren, and that came out the same year as Empty Man, and I mean, 20
Redbox exclusive.
Yeah, Caveat, Session 9. Jacob brings up The Wailing is another one I'll throw out there. There's so much.
The Dark Castle remakes of the early 2000s. I actually unironically like those.
Love them. I mean, Ghost Ship kind of sucks, but the first scene is amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. I know that's a meme, but like that was a legitimate thing.
Yeah. I mean, although I think there was like one more Dark Castle movie. I can't remember what it's called. I think it might be Apparition. Huh?
Oh, okay.
There's still Dark Castle movies trickling out. But they're just not.
I don't think that I've seen
Castle adaptations.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I watched something and I was like, what? This is... Yeah. Orphan First Kill was Dark Castle Entertainment. That was the last time I saw that pop up. Hills Run Red, that was Dark Castle Entertainment. Orphan, the original Orphan was.
I think the picture that's emerging, though, is that we are really in a very good period. If you get outside of the expected orthodoxy of what we should be loving, because really in all those things we mentioned, how many sequels did we talk about besides things that were like franchises from this era? Almost none.
Yeah.
So I've always talked about like, let's get away from the big 7 franchises or whatever it is. But to be honest with you, I think we have. It's just online people tend to talk about just the few titles. And that's kind of crazy. I was going to wait as long as I could to say the words The Empty Man because everyone knows how I feel about that film.
Oh, yeah.
The Empty Man may be as good a horror film as any that have ever been made. It's definitely in my view, the best cosmic horror that's ever been done. It's remarkable film.
It's in the discussion for sure. It's a shame the distribution on that one.
Nobody saw it, but wait, I'm telling you, in like 10 years, that movie is going to be the biggest. Everybody's going to love it. They're all going to be, oh, when that came out, I was a fan and nobody else was. Bullshit. You never watched it.
It already pops up on some greatest horror movies of all time lists. So I think it's starting to get recognized. And I mean, Night House too from 2020. Like that might be the best year in horror in the last 20
fucking
years.
Infinity Pool. I'm a huge mark for Infinity Pool and the rise of Mia Goth in general.
Yeah. Yeah, Jacob brings up Grace. Bog Zombie brings up Joshua. There's actually a couple Joshuas from around that time. But
The zombie baby movie, Grace.
Vampire Baby, I think, if I remember.
He was like
right.
like the baby died, right? Like
Yeah.
that's the idea, and then it was born. It's a zombie, can't be vampire.
Yeah, they marketed it as Vampire Baby, but yeah, zombie. Yeah, that was great. I mean, I think we take for granted everybody looks back at the 80s as the greatest decade for horror. And
Not me.
You can have the argument. I mean, there was a lot of great shit in the early 80s, especially, but
It's a vibe. I know that's a stupid thing to say these days, but there's a certain vibe you get from watching an 80s film that you also like. A 70s film has its own vibe, 90s, vice versa. So just depending on what mood I'm in and what nostalgic bone I'm looking to tickle is where I want to look.
The 80s are kind of this cocktail for a lot of people of nostalgia, of comfort, because they're very comforting films. They're very easy to digest. And frankly, because the MPA was forcing films to be cut to shit if they tried to do anything extreme, hate to say it, but you didn't have it get anything uncomfortable on screen. What is uncomfortable in, honestly, to watch in Nightmare on Elm Street 4 or in even in, there's a 1990 movie, but Cameron's Closet, the adaptation of the Kuntz novel. There's nothing uncomfortable whatsoever in those movies.
yeah.
And that horror should, on some level, not be a comforting experience. I think for people who really don't want to watch things that are going to challenge them, and that's the side of the genre they're into. Listen, that sounds like I'm beating someone up saying that. I don't mean it that way. If you have fun with what you watch, have fun. But understand that the genre itself was not created for the reasons you're using it.
No, but I would also argue that like we're pretty deep into it at this point, though. I have to like kind of take myself back sometimes. You know what I mean? And kind of remember. Well, not everybody has seen, as much of this shit as you have, so they're not like sick of it yet. You know what I mean? They're still kind of discovering a lot of that stuff.
No, listen, but I'm not the only thing I control. But the only thing I want to influence is my own experience here. Doesn't mean when I talk about things, I don't preface everything I say by saying "in my opinion," because it should be obvious. Because everything everyone says is their opinion. But people tend to get upset when their sacred cows are attacked, and I'm just sorry. I don't like horror comedies unless they're really good horror comedies. There was a lot of fucking horror comedies produced after 1985.
Yeah, and to be fair, I don't think you're a comedy fan in general, so I don't think that's
right. But that's a Lorne thing, right? But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean I'm wrong. From my experience, which is all I have the right to talk about. If I'm trying to talk about your experience, even if I'm trying to give you kudos for having great taste, it's not my place. Because what the fuck do I know about your experience? Only what you've told me. But to me,
have some garbage taste, though.
To me, it's like the 90s come in and we have some great films at the very beginning of the 90s. But honestly, the theatrical horror just it goes as quiet as it has ever in my lifetime. The direct-to-video horror, there's stuff that people have really fond memories of, but you don't tend to remember how much that shit was coming out and how much of it was grade A shit. It was a dark period. When we hit 2000 and we get beyond the Scream was a necessary stepping stone to get the commercial interest in making these films back on a solid footing.
I definitely did that. Yeah.
But it's really when we start having things like the original Saw and Hostel hit that it blows open the door to all different types of horror being allowed to be produced again. And I think that's really a moment that should be respected, even if you don't like those two films. Because do you guys really want more like fucking Scream derivative slasher films with the pretty girl from a TV show? Do you want that? I mean,
it got old really fast.
Really fast.
Yeah.
And the genre shouldn't just be like knockoff slashers with pretty casts anyway. There should be monster movies, and there should be suspense pieces, and there should be situational horror like Frozen.
We don't do near enough monster movies. Not nearly enough.
Core of this genre, for fuck's sake.
Splinter.
I love a good creature feature, dude.
Splinter, that's got to be one of the best of the last 20.
That was a great movie, dude. Magnet and Magnolia Pictures there for a brief period in the late 2000s was kind of the peak of that. IFC Midnight and them.
Oh, the pre-Scream Factory IFC titles, IFC Midnight titles. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say everyone's a classic, but it felt like they were curating their.
I was working as a security guard around the time that was like nearing its end, and I would go to Family Video and rent 5 IFC Midnight movies at a time.
Yeah, it was a mark of quality usually.
Yeah, it was just like, cool, that's IFC Midnight, I'm gonna watch it.
Okay, you want to be angry? So IFC have a theater in New York that do midnight movies, and they were showing all those as midnight movies. I was going into the theater hall.
That would have been awesome.
I would have loved to have seen like red, white, and blue on the big screen.
That one I didn't see, but I remember Beat playing.
Yeah.
But there was all that stuff. I mean, I went into the city. I went into New York to see Session 9 3 times.
Yeah.
Because it was playing at the Angelica. And the first time I was just blown away by the movie, and I kept trying to drag people in. Like, no, we got to go see a real horror movie. Come with me. Because Session 9 may be the most not Scream horror film ever made.
Oh my God. And we're experiencing that, I think, not everywhere. I know some people don't get them at their theater if you're in a smaller area. But I mean, we're getting all kinds of cool shit at like AMC right now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, again, not exactly going to be the horror hit of the year, but I'm seeing something called Peter Pan Neverland Nightmare on the big screen tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's an interesting place to be. We're seeing films from Argentina and Turkey get a shot on a big screen. So there's a lot for the film fan right now. I'd like to see it across genre more. I'd like to see the action film come back a little more than it is, and maybe
What happened in America? I'm going to tell you that right now.
Well, we got Working Man, Jason Statham still plugging along.
Yeah,
you mean you're not? Go ahead.
Who you gonna cast as the villains
In what are we talking here?
in an American action film?
I mean, you don't have the same character actors that you use.
I don't mean that. I mean, who are the villainous other state that sent the bad guy?
I don't know.
Who's that guy that looks like he shits
villains, can't we? I mean, like, is that kind of a no-no now?
That's the big thing, is that you can't do it now. I mean, hypothetically, you could have it be a gang from Albania, right? But the truth of the matter is, how many times can you ride that pony? There's a reason that last Top Gun film couldn't name the enemy. That's what's going to stop American action films from ever taking off again. I watch a lot of Indian action films. They have no problems calling out the Pakistanis. and because of that, it's not about being Pakistani, by the way. It's about the fact that they can define an enemy and do whatever they want dramatically with it, because they're not fucking worried about it.
Yeah.
In fact,
my love for Pakistan.
One of the craziest things about their movies is the Russians are usually good guys in it, because India and Russia have a good relationship.
Yeah.
So when Russians show up, they're usually not the villains. So it's very different than the Americans.
Russian heels are off limits though right now, because I kind of feel like we're you can't just
because we're about to patch all that up here in about a week. So
I don't know.
More importantly, we're going to find out what's going on with the drones, because
there
was 3 of them outside this time.
Is that still going on?
Absolutely.
Why didn't America just go and move on?
Because California is burning to the ground. No one cares about Jersey's drones.
I'm still more interested in the drones. I'm still more interested. California burns every year. I want to know why these drones are in New Jersey.
You're still on the aliens.
Yeah, that's more important here.
Hey, Eerie Spirit. I'm going to say one last thing about Session 9, because everyone knows I love the movie too much. It's not. So, did anyone else not notice that we always talk about the thing about The Thing is it's a movie about men going insane, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Session 9 is a movie about men going insane. How many female characters are in Session 9? 1. She's blurry, and in the background we hear her voice a few times. That's it.
It's early found footage.
what that's about too, by the way, is not an anti-female thing at all. It's saying that if we're going to talk about the male psychosis, we're not going to bother putting women on screen because this is about male psychosis.
Well, you have to quit pretending like there's not some experiences in this world that aren't uniquely one or the other in any different way, whether that be race, gender, religion.
It's a matter of like, if the movie doesn't gain anything by having a character, the character shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And this film was specifically about one man's mental illness and him projecting an entire cast around him. Well, he's not going to project a woman if the trauma was caused by him murdering his family. Oh, sorry, spoilers.
If you haven't seen it, it's your fault.
If you haven't seen Session 9, fuck you. Just
if you've ended up here and somehow never seen Session 9.
Get some sunlight if you haven't seen Session 9.
Do you guys find it interesting that particularly late 90s, I mean, independent cinema and, well, even Hollywood outside the horror genre, we were putting out amazing movies, American Beauty, just wonderful films, and like horror was
your hands weren't tied with what you could do and say, and I don't know, man. A lot of the shit that people point to as being the worst times are actually, I think, some of our most inclusive times and most collaboration was happening. But
90s was great for indie.
It kind of was. Yeah.
It really was for indie cinema, just not, hard, didn't really enjoy that. Nobody was taking risks at that time.
They're coming from both directions. A shit ton of them.
We've been in tighter spots, Sam. Remember the Al Suspiria saga?
Barely. But I remember you making us watch Dar at the Mall, so that's close enough.
Now or never. Let's fucking go.
Let's fucking go. Pina colada.
No, you beat me to it.
Joke you introduced just you should do that.
What?
I knew you'd sing the Pina Colada song.
I love Dar at the Mall.
Dar at the Mall is an amazing film, but it was not for everyone.
It was absolutely for me. Unfortunately, this segment is not for me because I have to go to bed.
Yeah.
So I gotta go.
Later, Sam.
Good night.
Bye, everybody.
Dar at the Mall is, by the way, stuck on DVD forever. There's no Blu-ray of that.
That's a crime.
No.
It is.
You can rent it on YouTube, though.
That's true. I think there is a high def print of it, actually.
It's amazing what's floating around out there with a high def print that never made it to disc.
Well, I think the thing is, like, different countries need different resolution formats, and so like you need to start from something good.
Yeah, I need to look up some of her other music, because that is Pina Colada is a classic. It's a classic. I don't know if this is a name that did that song, but it's good stuff. It's good stuff.
So Dan, you actually brought the next topic to the group. So do you want to talk about your ideas about the Last Man on Earth movies?
Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I mean, I Am Legend, it was among the first horror stories I read. Not the first, but it was definitely in that wave. And Richard Matheson, I mean, the whole idea of that story, I immediately watched Last Man on Earth, fell in love with it. It's still my favorite take on that story. And the idea of it really sparked something in my head. Like, what would that be like to just wake up and there's no one? They always cheat on the premise, which is like kind of an issue. Like, it doesn't take too long for you to find someone or something. But I always really gravitated towards that, and I think it holds up. I still think it's a great book. Matheson, rest in peace. I mean, just what he's done for the genre is just people don't realize. It's one of those names most people probably don't even know, but a Mount Rushmore name for horror. And again, seeing Last Man on Earth, it's ironic because Matheson did not like Vincent Price. He thought he was miscast. I know he wanted anyone but him in that role, and it kind of soured poor Price on that movie. I always felt really, I felt really bad for him that he didn't think that he made a masterpiece, because for me, there would be no Night of the Living Dead. Romero's given that movie its flowers, and it's still, like, to this day, I don't think it gets mentioned enough, because it's by far, I mean, Omega Man, I actually just rewatched that last night. That's nowhere near Last Man on Earth for me. So I have to disagree with Richard Matheson. I think Price is exactly who they should have had, not Gregory Peck or Rod Taylor, who I think he wanted for the story.
Gregory Peck.
Yeah, that's who he wanted, I guess. But and in fairness, Matheson's not fond of Omega Man either. But it's a shame this movie was a flop, and it's still not getting its due, because I think it's such a great story. I haven't
heard you mention the Will Smith one yet. Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
I'm getting there. I would actually say I prefer the Asylum I Am Omega.
I Am Omega.
With Mark Dacascos, which is not bad for what it is.
So I remember, like, half-ass liking that movie when I went and saw it in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
But by the time I watched it at home, like, I could really tell how bad those things looked.
It wears off. Yeah.
Did you see the special features where they shot that practically before they digitally animated all of them?
Oh yeah. Wrestling with Will. I do remember that. Did you know Ridley Scott almost made a version of it with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
I want to see that one.
Oh, I don't.
What year are we talking?
Oh, well, it would have been before the Will Smith movie. I'd probably not that long before it, to be honest.
Well, you're talking he's governor during that time, so it would have had to have been like early 2000s or late 90s.
Yeah, I feel like it was early 2000s. Maybe that was one of the last things he was attached to. But just the isolation of it, and I bring up these movies, but one that really I fucking love, and I discovered it. Of course, I get obsessed with something, I have to knock out every single thing that has anything to do with that topic. And Quiet Earth, that might be the best take on a human being having to live through this. And that's a great film from New Zealand if you guys haven't seen it. They cast an everyman. It works much better, again, in my opinion. Have you guys seen Quiet Earth?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are you a fan, Lauren? I don't think we've ever talked
absolutely.
about that. I love that movie. Bruno Lawrence, he was just so good, and I just love it. I love it. They don't make movies like that anymore. Jeff Murphy went on to do some much weaker American movies, Young Guns 2, and he kind of had his little run. But one of my favorite post-apocalyptic movies, and it's also based on a book, Craig Harrison's, I think, 1981 novel, Quiet Earth, loosely based on that. But I wanted to throw that out there because I feel like everybody's seen Omega Man or I Am Legend, and they haven't watched Last Man on Earth.
We need to watch I Am Omega. It's like that. I'll watch along at some point.
I Am Omega. I'm down. It's not bad. It's one of the better.
Hey, I've got like legit nostalgia for early Asylum shit. Transmorphers.
Transmorphers might be getting to the the not so great era, but that was kind of like the getting threatened with lawsuits era.
Yeah.
Of Asylum. Yeah, no, Quiet Earth, I think really did that. The scene where he lines up all the cardboard cutouts and delivers his address to, I think Hitler, Gandhi. He had just about everybody there. It's one of the best portrayals of just losing your mind, but it also does cheat because we throw a woman. They all cheat. I want the one that just never breaks. That just it's him the whole time, and he just has to deal with stuff that doesn't involve other people.
What I think I love about the concept is always that there's this fantasy aspect of it, right? Like, what would I do if I was the last one left? I could have the run of things. In a modern sense,
walk in your underpants through the Coliseum,
right?
Like,
but in a modern sense, it's like Night of the Comet. The girls go to the mall, right? Ultimate shopping trip. But if we're being realistic about it, like it would get really old real fast, and it would get really scary really fast.
I feel like about 6 months, and you're like wanting to jump off the Empire State Building, probably.
Yeah. So I think that whole idea, and you don't have to be truly empty, right? Because Matheson introduced what he was calling vampires. Romero introduces zombies into the equation, but we still kind of have that concept of being the last person.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because it allows you the luxury of imagining a world where you don't have limits. And what you very quickly discover is you don't want that. So it's built into the concept is the idea that we're probably searching for all the wrong things in life, which Romero, of course, would ultimately expand upon.
Absolutely. Yeah. I just like Bruno Lawrence, rest in peace. Unfortunately, he died young, but I really think we never saw Charlton Heston like truly lose it. We never really saw even Vincent Price in the way that Bruno Lawrence breaks down in this movie. And I think it might be at least on par with Last Man on Earth for me, because I have a special place in my heart for just about anything Vincent Price, but so good. And then the love triangle thing that they do with that, it's kind of a loose remake of a 1959 movie with Harry Belafonte called The World, the Flesh, and the Devil. But I think what Quiet Earth does with that is a lot more interesting. I haven't seen that one in many years, but one out there to check out and let me know what you think, because it's always been a favorite of mine. Science fiction. This one's not Quiet Earth's not her.
So you can't mention Quiet Earth without talking about A Boy and His Dog as well.
Yes.
Which is not a Last Man by any means, but it's definitely post-apocalyptic, and it's definitely about the breakdown of society and the breakdown of morality when you really have the rules of society pulled away. And there's an interesting connection between A Boy and His Dog and Clockwork Orange, in that both of them feature protagonists that are pretty unlikable on surface levels.
Oh yeah. I thought about bringing that one up, but I'm like, well, it's not really.
I have sort of an interesting one I kind of figured somebody'd bring up. It's a episode of TV. It's from season 1 of Twilight Zone, episode 8, Tom Enough at Last.
Yeah.
With Burgess Meredith, where he's the bookworm who just wants to read. And he takes his lunch break.
For that one.
There you go.
Who did?
Richard Matheson.
Yeah.
Teleplay by Rod Sterling, based on Tom Enough at Last by Len Venable.
Richard Matheson and Charles Beaumont. Lots of great Twilight Zone episodes. That is among the best, though. That's
my favorite episode, I think.
Yeah.
Breaks his glasses, man. There's no one to help him. There's no one to help him.
It's a great concept. I'd like to see it done with no vampires, no zombies. Just give me a 90-minute movie of just what happens with that. Like, does he give up? Does he just live through it? I don't know. There's a lot of interesting things that I don't think anybody has done with that concept, but I fucking love it. I really do.
That's what we need to do. We need to start a Twilight Zone podcast, and let's go through the whole show.
I am down. I'd say Night Gallery too. I've been wanting to do
I
that.
fucking love Night Gallery. Always forget what my favorite episode of that one is. It's got John Aston in it. He's a hippie in hell,
Oh yeah.
and hell's just like him hanging out with a bunch of squares.
Mm-hmm. Maybe we have to do like a Twilight Zone topic at some point on the show, because that is one of the very few shows of its time that still makes new fans.
Oh yeah, dude, it's fantastic.
It's amazing to me. There's teenage horror sci-fi fans today that still watch the Twilight Zone. It might be the most timeless series.
Me and my dad, every New Year, I think it was New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, they do the sci-fi would show every episode of Twilight Zone on repeat.
Yeah, those marathons. Yeah,
those are great, man. Like core memories, man.
Yeah. Yeah, if you guys got a favorite last person on Earth, or like I said, I'm glad Lauren brought up Boy and His Dog, because I was going to talk about it, but then I just thought I might be. Yeah, Moon is a good one, Jacob. I like Moon a lot. Space is an interesting way to do that, but I kind of kept it to Earth.
I like that fucking Adam Sandler spider movie.
Which one are you talking about? Oh,
he's
yes,
in space and he like hallucinates a spider to talk to.
Yes. He took some chances on that. That's like the one.
Oh, weird one.
Yeah.
Uncut Gems was great, man. It doesn't mean you do everything.
I don't think he's ever been able to fully shed the comedy guy.
Uncut Gems was his best chance, right? If it wasn't going to happen there, I just don't think it happens.
I mean, there's Punch Drunk Love. I mean, he's done different things. Just
Stevie, yeah, like I don't think Punch Drunk Love was like as mainstream well received.
You can't really do a movie like that, but then also do that stupid fucking Western he did at the same year. And it's like, you got to either go one direction there or
do fucking Jack and Jill.
Yeah. Just, you're never going to.
I don't know, dude. I'd keep all my friends working too, though, if I could,
Oh, there you go. He has had some wretched streaming movies, though. Jesus Christ.
He's had wretched movies.
Sorry, Lauren. I don't know how we got to Mathis into Adam Sandler, but we did.
It's a drop dead subject for me, right?
I know.
Jacob, the Night Gallery episode you are referencing is a Lovecraft adaptation. Most people don't realize.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that I really miss. Like I miss, and this is way far off of Last Man on Earth too, but I miss when we used to adapt things for episodic television or we used to have these anthology shows where you would adapt great horror stories, and it kept the short story alive in a lot of ways because it drew people saying, "Hey, that was a great story. I'd love to read the story it came from." I watched the episode of Dark Room or Tales from the Dark Side or Twilight Zone or Amazing Stories, and you'd want to go back and find where it came from, and it was a 14-page story. I'll read that. It got people into discovering voices inside the genre.
Why is the industry scared of anthologies? It seems to be that's a thing, though. They just don't like it.
Because there aren't that many really big hits. So, so let's put it this way. Creepshow you think of Creepshow as a huge movie of the 80s, right?
Yeah.
In relation, it's not.
No.
Yeah.
So if you had a film come out and do Creepshow's type of numbers with inflationary measures taken into account, it wouldn't get a sequel.
No, but we seem to have a void of low budget television now. Think about Tales from the Dark Side and Monsters is a good example. That was made for nothing and syndicated everywhere. It printed money, in essence.
Well, because Lorimar understood low budget filmmaking because it was that whole Pittsburgh the scene independent film scene that came out of industrial films. It was all the people around Romero were still the money behind that whole thing. We don't have that kind of regional filmmaking in pockets like that anymore. There's people making movies everywhere, and Hollywood definitely, even if it's not just Ash by the end of the week, is not going to be the center of the movie making universe ever again.
No.
I'd argue that internationally it isn't now. China is producing films that are basically not distributed in America that make far more money worldwide than what our stuff does. India makes more money worldwide than our stuff, except something like a Mission Impossible movie. The reality is just Hollywood is not an issue, but in the 60s, you had these little enclaves of art filmmakers out there trying to compete for the drive-in market, for grindhouses, for off the beat programming. They could sell a movie to UHF that was never theatrically released and get it out there. None of that's in place now.
The sad thing is we don't have regional flair anymore. Like if you go back and look at some of these, regional horror movies, you can tell something that was made in Florida or something that was made in Wisconsin. Now it's just like it's a smaller world. We're all, well, most of us are watching.
Well, you're seeing that with culture anyway. Like culture
it's
slowly.
We're merging into that. Todd talks about that on our show a lot, where it's even music now. There used to be, rap would be very different, East Coast, West Coast, and it's kind of just becoming same shit now.
But
Brian Trash, One Step Beyond. That's one from actually before Twilight Zone.
Yeah,
premieres for it's good.
And where's Karloff's Thriller?
Anthony Perkins, Chiller, if we're going later. There's so much great anthology. And I'm just looking like at my library, the amount of short stories, bangers, like absolute bangers in the last 30 years that they could adapt is insane.
Just open the Borderland anthologies, pick any story in any of the 7 core volumes of that series, and you're off to the races. Just off.
You're good.
Or every story that was ever in a Shadows anthology or a Whispers anthology, if we're going to talk about one of my big heroes, Charles Grant, you're off to the races. I mean, some of them have been made into films.
I think you're going to see a flare up, not in our genre, unfortunately, but I think you're going to see a flare up since they're doing all these Harry Potter movies a season at a time now. They're going to give a season of television to each Harry Potter book. You're going to see that with a ton of Stephen King shit now. After that becomes a giant hit.
Ironically, there is a new collection coming out from Brian Keene and others in the Stand universe, all short stories. I could 100% see them. But
for years we were told we couldn't get accurate adaptations of stuff because you got to fit it into 2 hours or whatever. But you're about to. I'm just predicting you're going to see some wild shit come from that.
Well, there's just so much. You want something more modern. Eric LaRocca, he's got some short stories that are very easy to see. Whatever you want. Borderlands, that's fucking criminal that they have.
How about an anthology based on Brian Everson's stories?
Brian Evanson is a genius.
Yeah.
And nobody knows who he is. He's the closest to a sure thing. John Langan, Laird Barron. Give me the Croning. That would have to be a limited series, I think. But there's just so much. We still get a lot of really good stuff, but the horror classics we could be producing based off these books.
And we're getting away from all of it, but I don't care. I like where it's going. The truth is, it's not like I'm saying that horror literature is better than film, but the thing is, what used to happen is someone would write a novel that worked really well as a novel, and then a screenwriter who does what he does or she does would come in and adapt it with their strengths. So you had great foundation where you didn't have to worry about plot or character or setting necessarily. And then you had someone come in and go, okay, but now it has to be told in a visual standpoint. So they would not do what the novelist did because that's a different skill set, and adapt it to film. And you ended up with like magnificent films that weren't necessarily true to the source material, but were perfect for the medium that they were ultimately created for. So like the Brian De Palma film Carrie is to me a better film than Carrie is a novel. That's not a slam on King. It couldn't have gotten there without his novel. That needs to happen a lot more. We need to find those great novels to start with as a base. I know we've been burnt in the past. I know there's some really horrible adaptations out there, but we can't let that stop us. Because original screenplays can only be as good as the original screenplay that gets greenlit. Cats are going crazy.
Jacob brings up Max Booth. He has actually been adapted, but yeah, I mean his Lost Films anthology. He has a few. I might be jumbling the names, but he's got a few good anthologies. I mean, and even something like I mean, of course, we're all sick of the King shit now. That's on remake number 4, 5, 6. Robert McCammon. That's as popcorn can be. Like, why wouldn't you try? Let's do Swan Song. Let's give it a shot. You know, his vampire story. I mean, I don't.
Dan, Brian Lumley.
Yeah.
Nictoscope. You have 9 seasons worth of material if you get this right.
I think that's been licensed. I don't know what the fucking problem is. Like it's all there.
In the 80s, you couldn't escape that.
Yeah, I mean, I can name like a lot of like off the wall stuff that I'd love to see, but a lot of this, it's adaptable. There's no reason that you can't do it at this point. I mean, I know you're friends with Brian Hodge, but I can say not knowing Brian Hodge, like fucking hell, like the shit that you could put out that would blow your minds out there if you've never read Brian Hodge. You know, again, I mention this every time this comes up, but the drive-in, Joe R. Lansdale. You tell me that's not going to be a crowd favorite, like, you know, Thanksgiving a couple years ago. Like that's
forever.
Yeah, everybody will love that. But
it's weird when Lansdale has been adapted, it always kind of has worked out to a cult following. So
yeah,
so why is this a problem?
It's so I don't get it. There's so many authors out there that haven't even. I mean, I watch a lot of you know, horror booktube, and I'll see some of these authors who have podcasts talking about horror movies, just like having to react to news that it's like, oh, we're remaking Firestarter again. You know, it's as though there's not 100 different unique stories between the 4 people on the panel. It's Hunter Shea, who I love. I mean, again, this is not hard stuff to adapt. Creature, his you know, he's known for like really fun kind of B-movie stuff in novel form, but Creature is amazing. Creature is sort of his Citizen Kane. It's such a wonderful book, and would make a great movie. Yeah, I don't know. Side rant, I guess. I could keep naming these people, but yeah.
I'm out of rounds.
So am I.
It was a good run, Sam.
No regrets.
Get away from them, you bitch.
Thank God, New Girl. I was sure we were going to die one of those heroic, selfless deaths that has impact on screen for about 30 seconds until the hack director undercuts the tension with some stupid fucking joke.
But how did you even know where to find us?
I was looking for a bathroom with a shower. This whole facility is filthy. I know the remaining Jonathan robot says the aliens destroyed all the housekeeping droids, but you'd think he could at least pick up a towel and dust for Christ's sake. And for the last time, My name is Jessica.
You know, the funny thing is, as we talk about like the genre in the last 25 years, or we talk about adapting books, or we talk about Nosferatu, which is an adaptation of a book, or even slipcovers. The funny thing is, the really common theme through this all is that there's this amazing fan base for horror. And we ride with the tide no matter what happens, right? And we have our complaints, but we also have our victories. But the passion remains there. And I think it's funny that in the worst times for the genre, the early 50s, the mid 90s, you have these moments of where people still go out there and they search harder and they find the great stuff. During COVID, we found some of the greatest horror in modern history, right?
Yeah.
I think in that it's such a great moment for the genre in many ways. We don't have to search. We can just turn on Shudder and pick a thumbnail, or Tubi, or Netflix, or you can look at what Vinegar Syndrome or Synapse is releasing this month, and you'll immediately have part of the community talking about that thing because you know it'll get a lot of press. But at the same time, there's so much under the current, right, under the water, that we could fish out. And I think that's ultimately what always is going to be the really great stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know that we'll ever hit a brick wall with the genre. I think things will always scare people. There'll always be things that induce anxiety. So the sky is still the limit.
Yeah, I agree.
When we get frustrated about things, avenues in the genre that we don't support necessarily. Another King of Firestarter adaptation, right? Or even that monkey movie that's coming out, which I think there's something else we can always turn to, right? And that's the beauty of this, is that horror used to be thought of derisively as just, oh, those monster movies that kids watch. And that's still out there, but there's so much more. It really is for anyone who wants to get involved.
No, I agree. And I'm optimistic about the future of horror. I really am. Hopefully we're heading into another stellar 25 years, but it's a good point to close on. Like, look at some of these books. I feel like the studios just don't know. I don't understand it. Bentley Little. There's another one. Easy to adapt.
Bentley. Well, I think it's hard for them to quantify what the appeal would be. Like, it's such a different industry. They don't know. Just because someone reads a book, would they buy a ticket to a movie? And I don't think they have a easy answer for that from their point of view. From mine, it's very simple.
Yeah.
Who cares? If it's a great story, it'll appeal.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, make the best possible film you can, cut the best trailer you can, make a print ad that kicks ass. I will always say to people, I hate Friday the 13th Part 5, A New Beginning, but that print ad kicks ass.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the dumb video ad with the worst mask ever. I'm talking about the one with Tommy Jarvis holding the machete with the mask over him. The original version of that, none of the recreated bullshit ones. You can sell even a bad film really well.
Oh, yeah.
But you don't even have to make a bad film. You have all this source material that's awesome. And some of it's not books. There's still great graphic novels to be adapted. There's still great songs to be expanded into films, which is another thing that used to happen. It doesn't happen anymore.
No.
I don't like the idea of remaking things endlessly or turning old television series into movies, but I would show up tomorrow if you were to make a Twilight Zone movie today without killing anyone. I'm down for that. But yeah. I mean, maybe because people died, that's not viable. But
we have proven that we can't be trusted with that IP anymore. Okay.
Yeah,
Every time it's something. We done proved it. We can't use it no more. It's unfortunate. It really is. But we just got to put it to bed. Everybody fucks it up.
yeah.
Where's my Manimal movie? That's the real question here. Where's my Manimal movie?
I honestly would not be shocked if they did that, but
They need to make a dark, gritty Manimal movie.
It'll probably end up like that Peter Dinklage Toxic Avenger. It'll get made, just no one will ever see it.
Speaking of Dinklage, he was in a Lansdale adaptation of The Thicket recently, so that did get adapted. Jacob, I would love to see Thomas Ligotti adapted.
I don't see that happening, but I would.
Yeah, you're more optimistic. That one, I'm not holding my breath. But Laird Barron, I can see him.
What about I just got into this the other day, and you two would be the ones to ask about it. What about a Blood Meridian movie?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but
is that ever going to happen?
Well, yeah, I think it'll happen. Some stuff it's hard to say. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to what does and doesn't get adapted anymore. It just, sometimes they'll grab something super obscure and it'll happen. Like Max Booth, again, somehow, some way he got adapted. I don't know what it takes, because again, for a moment in time, Robert McCammon looked like he was gonna maybe challenge Stephen King for the throne. Like people forget, but that was a thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Swan Song was a huge release. Huge release.
And obviously he didn't. And at this point, nobody's going to, unfortunately.
No.
But
well, there's certain people too, like your Richard Laymans of the world. It's just, I don't think there'd be a taste for it because it's too. It's too grisly.
My favorite thing on BookTube is watching people react to diving into Richard Layman books for the first time, and just like the how many ways can you describe this girl's tits? But
definitely a thing.
Would they not be fun? I mean, I'm looking at way up in the sky at my Layman books, and there's not a lot there. Beast House would be awesome, but I don't think so. Maybe Brian Smith, who channels Layman. Yeah. He's been adapted. 68 Kill got adapted for him, so it's not impossible. It's just like playing the lottery, I think.
And hell, Scott Smith ever writes another novel, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
We're due, aren't we? It's been a decade, right?
It's time for him to hammer out something else. Yeah, at least a novel. But
thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Hey, Chris, good to see you. But I'm still hopeful. I mean, as long as it's good, it doesn't matter where it comes from. We're at this point, I think things are going to be more regional again. Irregardless of what's going on right now, and if you're affected by the fires, my thoughts go out to you. But I don't think it's just going to be Hollywood anymore. I really would love to see that unique flavor return. I think people are going to slowly become more open to other movies, which I know it's kind of a battle to get people to watch, stuff like, like Turkish films, but then something like Baskin comes along and it's like, well, wow, I kind of like that. Maybe I will, broaden my horizons a little bit. I want to see more of that. I want to see just the genre staying healthy. I want, countries that aren't known for horror to start producing stuff. I'd like to see what everything looks like at this point, because growing up, I mean, didn't really have a chance to watch a lot of Indian stuff. I had to really dig for that.
It's changed a lot since then too.
It has. Yeah, quite a bit. quite a bit. I think maybe that's why people don't want to give it a shot, because it's it's not all dancing. It really isn't.
No.
Finally, a shower. Space is so disgusting.
Oh, my sweet sugar pop kitten pie.
For you, Karen, my love.
Jessica, get the fuck out of there.
Now that is Marvy. Motherfucker.
I've never been more titillated in my entire life.
Hold that thought, Stone.
Oh.
So good night, everyone. Thank you for joining for the first show of 2025. It's going to be a good year. It has to be better than last year for me personally. So it's going to be a lot more on the channel than was available in 2024. So thank you for your patience with us. The ride has just begun. Any words, guys?
Read some of these authors we mentioned if you're a reader. There's a lot of good ones that were name dropped.
Jonathan?
Loquacious. That's a word, right?
Sobriety. Have a great one, guys.
Internal log 0613-2024. The ship is a twisted mass of wreckage on the surface of an unmapped moon outside the boundaries of any charted system. The crew are dead. With any luck, this transmission will be picked up by the YouTube algorithm. And notifications will be sent, but who knows? This is Customer Service Specialist Sam, last survivor of the commercial data mining ship Imperium. Signing off. Good night.
I really don't like this. It feels like I'm being called into the principal's office.
Relax. This guy has a rough reputation, but I bet he's a big pussy, just like all these company men.
I hope you're right.
He just let me do the talking.
Gentlemen, no need to be shy. Come in. Darren, Dirk, I'd offer for you to take a seat, but there aren't any.
Well, that's okay, really. If I sat down, there's no telling I might shit myself.
What he means is that it's a pleasure to finally meet you, sir.
I'll get right to it. I've had my eyes on you two for quite some time.
Oh, Jesus.
And I have an assignment for the both of you. Have you heard of LV 9009? It's a moon in the outer systems that got captured in a gravity slide and escaped its parent planet.
LV? As in life viable?
That's what it stands for? I didn't know.
Well, it's on its way. It has a rudimentary atmosphere, and the oxygen won't kill you for 20 minutes or so if you breathe it without a filter. We have a terraforming outpost there, and I'd like you two to take on the day-to-day running of the community.
Does it pay more than clean the toilets here at HQ?
Is it safe? Are there girls?
Slightly, not really. And yes.
Where do we sign?
Exactly what I wanted to hear. There's just one little thing I haven't mentioned.